Hello, everyone. This is Wayne Bennett with ECRM and Range Me, and today I'm real excited to have with us Kevin Smartt, who is the CEO of Texas Born, formerly known as Quick Check, and the chairman of the National Association of Convenience Stores. Kevin, great to have you here. Welcome to the program.
Wayne, thank you. It's so good to be on and excited to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, no, Kevin, this is really exciting. And I think I want to get right into the conversation here about the recent rebranding and the name change. I know at one time your chain was called Quick Check. It's now called TXB, which is Texas Born. Tell us a little bit about the decision to rebrand and what that means to your customers.
Sure. Well, I mean, obviously we're excited about it. You can kind of see the background of our stores here. We think it represents authentically who we are. So I'm born and raised in Texas. The partner who I started the company with was born and raised in Texas. We operate in a lot of small rural towns around Texas, as well as bigger towns. Our values align with communities and customers, doing the right thing. And so when you walk into our stores and you see our storyboards, there's a direct connection with that. We try to recognize the communities and the stores that we're building. So we think, obviously, being in Texas and we are Texas born, that it's a message that resonates with our communities.
That's great. And so, Kevin, maybe you can even tell us a little bit more about what that means personally to you. And I'm curious to know, from a Texas-born platform, what does that mean for the assortment, and then also sort of the broader company values?
Yeah.
With that pivot.
Yeah. So when we had this idea probably 3 or 4 years ago, we were using Texas-born maybe 5 years ago as a marketing campaign. And we visualized, going out and finding craftsmen and artists around the state that, we could sell local products from Texas in the stores. And half of America shops in convenience stores every day. And I say that to illustrate that when we're in small towns and communities, I mean, we really are an integral part of those towns and people's lives. And so, when we talk about the products we sell, we're all about fresh food. So we're doing fresh tacos. We cook the meat fresh in front of you. We do fresh chicken in the store. We batter it, marinate it, cook it fresh in front of you. Salads, sandwiches, fresh fruit. We sell fresh fruit. We have a produce table. If we don't sell it, we chop it up. We sell it. We cook it in the foods. We're taking the store a little bit more into a market concept. So a lot of meals to go, a lot of meals that you would take home and cook, just food that you would take home and cook, maybe that you might get in a grocery store. We don't want to become a grocery store, but we definitely want to be more than what a traditional convenience store is today. And, I'm not disparaging against the convenience stores that have the Quick in the name, but we just felt like we were another Me Too on the street with the Quick Check. And we wanted something that really talked about kind of our passion for the state and for our customers. And we thought that the name did it. And we think by trying to carry fresh products, local products, as well as national products that consumers enjoy and look for, we want to do it all, that it would really make this more of a destination than it would be just a, fuel stop on your way home.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like a terrific platform, and one that, clearly will resonate in the markets that you currently compete in. And what I'm curious to know is, so how does that transcend across your private label program? How do you view this as part of the Texas Born platform? And, can you share with us a little bit what categories you're leaning into?
Yeah, sure. Well, so interesting, I would say, and some people may not agree with this, but that our fresh food is our private label program, right? So all of our packaging, everything that comes out of the store has TXB on it. So if you get tacos, it goes into our own custom packaging. So that is our product. It is a private label product. So we're leaning heavy again into all of our fresh foods, but then you can take it further. We're doing a lot of the traditional items. that you might see, but we're trying to make sure whatever we do that there's a quality and or a uniqueness to them. So we're doing our own waters. We have a high pH balanced water that we're doing. We have our own beef jerky line, very high quality Texas beef jerky line. We're coming out this month with ready to drink teas. And it's interesting, we have flavors that are Texas centric flavors. So like Fredericksburg peach tea, Texas pecan tea, and then of course a traditional sweet and unsweet tea. And then we'll continue that line in snack items. We're working on that currently. We're also going to do the tacos that we cook fresh in the store. You'll also be able to buy that meat packaged up with the TXB label on it to take home and cook. It's already seasoned, ready to go. So you can eat it fresh in the store, or you can take it home and cook it.
That's great. And so a lot going on the fresh foods, and I'm wondering, the signature at TXB is a lot have to do with fresh foods, and I'm wondering in terms of maybe future consideration, if you could share maybe some other areas where you might be leaning into now, possibly into the future, some things if you could share in terms of the fresh food front.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll say this, even as we kind of think down the road of things that we're looking for, I mean, we want to be more than a convenience store. And, Wayne, you and I talked last week. I mean, we've enjoyed our early, exposure on range meat. And so things like, cosmetics, not being a CVS or Walgreens, but having a really high quality small section of cosmetics in our store. Potentially some really great prepared meals that aren't ours, maybe, but that people are looking for that they might find in a Whole Foods or an HEB or someplace like that, right? So there's a brand recognition for them. So we want to continue looking for and bringing in products like that, whether it be our brand or somebody else's, but that complements the overall fresh food category. And we do all this also with a very heavy vision for technology, right? So today we have our own app. You can pay for your fuel in your car without getting out of your car. You can go in the store, you can buy everything in the store, walk up and pay for it completely contactless without touching anything. We're testing mobile checkout, so you can come in, pick up everything in the store if you're one of our loyalty members, scan it on your phone and walk out the door because we know who you are and we know what you've scanned. So we're doing all that. We're messaging to our consumers about the brand, the private label products, and trying to make it as convenient for them as possible.
So, Kevin, obviously there's a lot going on. You've got the rebranding, you've got the activity in fresh, you've got the private label, lots of different things. So what I'm curious to know with all the excitement and all the opportunity and ideas that, suppliers should be bringing to you in this journey, can you shed some light on what can suppliers do to better serve you at Texas Born and, in support of your most important initiatives?
Yeah, great. That's a great question. I'd say, first of all, maybe try not to think of us as a convenience store, because I think when you do that initially, there's boundaries put on maybe what you think a traditional convenience store could sell. So think of us differently, maybe like a small market and with an expanded footprint, because our smallest new store will be 6,000 square feet, and some of them will be up to 7,000 square feet. So we have the space to have an assortment of products. So if you're a supplier, think about us of somebody that has 1,000 people a day walking in the door, and getting people not only going to work, coming home from work, but that's filling in the evening time who's coming by to see us, or an office place that works close by. What do they need? What can we carry in a smaller assortment? I think the smaller assortment is really from what we find is really the challenge when we get into sourcing products is being able to get that display a little bit smaller, or the end cap a little bit smaller than a grocery store or a mass drug or somebody would carry. If we can find a way to do that, I think it opens the door, not just for us, but for a lot of other call them convenience retailer or whatever you'd want to call that retailer around the country. And it could be anything from, like I said, cosmetics to apparel to take home meals to, health and beauty items. So I think the opportunities are abundant for us in this business, and especially for TXB.
Yeah, that's great. Lots of opportunities, and hopefully the suppliers will listen in and understand that TXB is open for business. So, Kevin, let's just pivot for a few minutes here and kind of ask a little bit about your perspective and your role as the chairman of NACS. And so, a couple of questions I have for you from that sort of broader industry perspective. And so I recently read an article where you stated that technology, people, and food are key success factors for the future of the C-store industry. Technology, people, and food. And I'm wondering if you could share some thoughts on each one of these key pillars and why that's important. And again, that's technology, people, and food.
Yeah. So technology, obviously, we talked about what we're doing already as a company. And I think, probably this has been overused, but the pandemic has accelerated some aspects of technology 3 to 5 years very quickly. Contactless payment used to be what a lot of people were striving to get into, and whatever their own app method was. Now that's almost table stakes, right? And so we're looking at home delivery. We're looking at curbside delivery, having the technology that it's in-house if we can do it. I think, our industry as a whole, we've taken on a huge initiative in technology called True Age, which will be a new way to to verify age identity through the phone and do it in a much more responsible way that will eliminate a lot of the fake IDs that are used. And in an industry that, sells the most age restricted products in the US, I think it's something that we've taken a personal responsibility to make that happen. And so we're out there doing it. I think we have 153 chains that have committed to bring this on, which represents about 25,000 stores in the US.
That's great.
And we're just starting that process, right? So that's one. People, even though more technology is coming into the scene, people are still the key to providing great service, cooking good, fresh food. And so we can't underemphasize the need for us to continue to create an environment, a home, a family where everybody wants to work and wants to kind of grow within the system. And so we're constantly looking at ways to do that better, not just pay more, but give better benefits, give more flex time, have a funner environment where everybody wants to work. But people's critical. And then I guess the last thing, Wayne, when we think about food, I think when you think about the industry as a whole and or other industries that we compete against, there's been an immense channel blurring over the last 10 years, right? It started at one point where you saw some QSRs in convenience store boxes, and then, mass drug started putting in convenience store concepts. I mean, having coolers of milk and Cokes and everything. And so there's a mass channel blurring going on. And we think that we're still buying the best real estate and we're still the closest to our communities. And so we think the differentiator for us in the end is really being able to sell high quality food. And I think our industry thinks about that pretty much the same, especially if you look at a lot of the really top tier convenience store companies across the US. A lot of the family businesses, Sheetz, the Wawas of the world, they're really premium food operators. And they almost think food first before they think convenience store. And that's where we want to be. And so I think when we think about it as an industry, as a chairman of the industry, those are kind of the three pillars I'm constantly talking about, because I think it's important that all of our industry, small operators, big operators, understand that and are striving to get there.
That's great, Kevin. I thank you for sharing that vision and that insight. So, what I'm curious to know is, again, in an article that you were commented in, you talked about that the C-store industry was going to be energy agnostic, and I thought that was very interesting. And I'm curious to know if you could share a little bit more about that, and what are your thoughts about that, and how will the C-store industry evolve with the growth of electronic vehicles?
Yeah, it's interesting. Our industry, NACS, the association, which I'm chairman of, we've always kind of taken a stance. We want to sell legal products the right way, the responsible way. If it's legal, we want to be able to sell it. So cannabis, which is being legalized across the country, some people may want to sell it, may not want to sell it, but as an industry, we say it's legal, we want to be able to sell it. And energy is the same way. I mean, we've grown up as an industry with fuel pumps in front of us, not because that was kind of our want, it's because it's what the consumer wanted and it made sense for the business model. And so we really are energy agnostic, and as things evolve, as the electric vehicle market continues to grow and evolve, we want to be a part of it, right? So as infrastructure gets built out in the U.S., we want to have a seat at the table, to have the ability to compete, to have that infrastructure at our locations. It makes sense. We have a lot of people that come to us today. Most of the times we have the parking lot space, and we have other amenities on the lot, which helps them if there's 10 to 15 minutes to 30 minutes they have to charge. And we want to be able to sell that electricity just like everybody else. Today, in many of the states, the public utility companies control that and won't let anybody else sell electricity. And so, we have a lot of challenges to get that done. And if you're somebody who, believes in electric vehicles and you're going to purchase an electric vehicle, you should have a voice, and you should be voicing that to your congressmen and senators about having charging stations, at your local convenience stores or wherever it is. It can be anywhere. We want them wherever.
No, that's fantastic. And I asked the question because obviously there is great promise in EVs, and probably one of the biggest impediments to its success is the ability to charge conveniently. So yeah. I'm glad to hear that, that is something you guys are looking at from an industry perspective. It makes a lot of sense. Similarly, what I'm curious to know, there's a lot of conversation going on in the market, in the retail market. Lots of retailers talk about it. But from a C-store industry perspective, what kind of credit would you like to give the industry now, relative to their efforts in terms of sustainability and carbon reduction and waste reduction, plastic reduction? Share with me a little bit about that, Kevin. Industry leaning into sustainability efforts.
Yeah. Well, I will say, still on this topic we just left, but on sustainability, right? I mean, I know retailers that have had electric charging stations out for 5 to 7 years. And 5 to 7 years ago, there were very, very, very few of them out, but they believed in having that opportunity for consumers to come charge, and believed in the sustainability of it. So I think convenience stores were an early leader in trying to have many of those out and about. So many of our stores and the industry is converted over to LED lights already. So another big energy savings there. We do cardboard recycling at a big portion of our stores. All of our new stores going forward have cardboard recycling. Water reclamation. A lot of our industry does water reclamation. You'll look inside the store and you're starting to see more paper products, less single-use plastic products. A lot of our food packaging we've converted out of plastics into paper products. And then conversations we're having with our suppliers, much like the investment community and that you see, we're asking those questions to our suppliers, like, when are you going to be out of single-use plastics? That's highly important to us in the products we're carrying. And we're responsible for what we have on our premise, and we can only do so much about it. But the products that's coming into the stores that comes from our suppliers is something else, and we have to voice our opinion on that and our want for them to be able to convert over to something that's more sustainable. So we're doing that, and they're responding. It's just everything takes time and money, and it takes a while to cycle through it. But we're finding the supplier community be quite responsive to moving out of single-use plastics.
That's great. That's great, Kevin. So, Kevin, I just, kind of in closing, I always like to end these with more of a personal question, just to kind of get to know you a little bit better. And I appreciate you sharing with us what you have going on at Texas Born, and obviously from the industry. But, can you tell the audience, like, what book, what Netflix show are you watching? What are you doing when you're not, changing the world down there in Texas?
My wife says I work way too much, or I don't sleep enough, one of the two. But
that means you're not really reading or watching Netflix much.
Well, actually, Lane, yeah, I'm kind of a TV Netflix junkie, probably. I think currently we started Halston. It's a new series on Netflix, and Halston.
Okay.
And then we also started one called The Serpent.
Okay. My wife my wife has been watching that one. Yes, I think she's done with it. Yes.
Yeah, and then if I've had a hard day and I just need for my brain to let go, I have to go back and rewatch reruns of Schitt's Creek.
There you go. Okay.
That always gets me going.
Schitt's Creek was a good show.
Yeah, and then I guess book-wise, when I read, I've always got 2 or 3 going, and so. I guess I finished, I was a little late on it, but I finished Educated here just recently. I started one called Pappy Land, which is the story of the Pappy Van Winkle family.
Okay. Very nice.
Very interesting. And
is that coming into Texas Born or no?
Oh, I would love it. I would love that. And then I've got one I just started. It's called Range, it's about why generalists are more successful essentially than specialists in companies.
Oh, I like that one.
It's a pretty interesting read. So that's my 3 books right now, I guess, that are sitting on my nightstand.
That's great. Well, Kevin, between the Netflix and the reading and changing the world at Texas Born and driving the force forward with the convenience store industry, it was really a pleasure and honor to have you on the show today. And we do appreciate the recent addition of Range Me as a discovery inbound submission platform for your merchant team. We appreciate that very much. I'm looking very much forward to continuing our conversation, seeing you in the news, and seeing firsthand how you continue to lead the industry forward. So thank you very much for being here. It was a pleasure and an honor. And stay safe.
Great. Thank you, Wayne.